Welcome to the Explainer. What if everything we think we know about getting older is just plain wrong? Today, we're going to look at a totally radical vision for aging that comes from the author Zhu Feng. It's this idea of a paradise-like existence. But, and this is a big but, there's a really unexpected catch.
Yeah, the source material does not pull any punches. It kicks things off with this incredibly stark and honestly pretty tragic reality. It's just this powerful reminder of the deep isolation so many people face when they get older. And it really sets the stage for the pretty radical solution we're about to dive into.
Okay, so here's what we're going to cover. We'll start by facing the real challenges of aging, and why our current systems just aren't working. Then we'll get to the good part. This amazing, paradise-like vision for our later years, and, of course, that one very surprising condition you need to meet to get in.
All right, first things first. We've got to start with the truth that, nobody can really avoid. The source is super clear on this. Getting older isn't just about blowing out more candles on your cake. It's a whole series of real and, often really difficult challenges that pretty much affect every single one of us.
So the source actually breaks this decline down into 3 stages. First up is our physical strength. The Chinese term is Ti. That just starts to fade. Then, after that, comes a drop in our daily energy, or Jingli. And finally, our mental strength, our Xinli. That starts to weaken too. When you put all 3 of those together, it can make just managing daily life on your own feel almost impossible.
Okay, so with all that in mind, how do we, as a society, actually handle elder care right now? Well, the source argues, and pretty forcefully I might add, that the 2 main ways we've done things for generations, they're basically crumbling under the pressure of modern life.
So you've got 2 main options, right? First, there's the tradition of relying on your kids, but that's failing. Not because they don't want to help, but because they just can't. They're completely exhausted, just struggling to keep their own heads above water. So then, what's the alternative? Often, it's a nursing home. And the author describes these places in a really bleak way, calling it basically just waiting to die.
But look, the problem is so much deeper than just, the logistics of physical care. The source makes a huge point that there's this profound emotional struggle that our current systems just completely ignore.
And this quote, wow, it really gets to the heart of the matter, doesn't it? It's saying that even when someone is getting help from family, from staff, whoever, there's still this deep inner sadness and loneliness that can stick around. It's an internal battle that, outside help just can't always reach.
Seriously, just let that sink in for a second. The author claims that less than 5% of people actually get to spend their final years feeling genuinely happy and content. That is a really sobering thought about where things stand today.
So, after laying out this pretty bleak picture, the author pivots and asks, what if there's another way? A totally different model for how we spend our final years. And this is where things get interesting. The source doesn't just complain about the problems. Nope, it lays out this incredibly detailed vision of what elder care could be. And what it describes is this vibrant, supportive community that honestly sounds a lot like paradise.
So in this vision, your daily life is just completely transformed. Imagine this. You're surrounded by people your own age, but also by young people, by children, all that energy and joy. And all those daily chores, cooking, cleaning, laundry, forget about them. They're handled. Instead, you've got social events, games, even some light, meaningful work if you want it. And as your physical needs change and grow, the support grows right along with you, all the way to bedside service if you need it. And it's all given with care, never a complaint.
And this leads to maybe the most powerful idea in the whole thing. In a community like this, the way you think about death completely changes. It's not something to be afraid of anymore. Instead, it becomes this peaceful, dignified, even joyful transition that you can anticipate.
I know what you're thinking. It sounds amazing, but it also sounds kind of like a fantasy, right? Well, the author knows you're thinking that. They anticipate the skepticism and basically ask us straight up, do you even believe a place like this could be real here on Earth? And here's the kicker. The source says this is not just some idea, not some made-up utopia. It is a real working model for living that's been around for over a decade. It's not a dream. It's actually happening somewhere in the world right now. Okay, but hold on. Before you get too excited and start packing your bags, there is a catch, a big one. This paradise, it's not open to everybody. There's a very specific and honestly, a very unexpected requirement to get in.
Which leads to the obvious question, right? Can just anybody go live this way?
And the source is crystal clear on this. The short answer? No. Simple as that. Getting into this community is exclusive.
So what's the requirement? Well, the one single prerequisite for joining is something the author calls spiritual purification. You only get in if you've gone through that specific process.
And that's where we're left, with this huge, lingering question. The source introduces this really profound idea, spiritual purification, as the absolute key to a happy end of life. But then it never actually tells us what it is. So it just leaves you wondering, right? What does it actually mean to be worthy of a peaceful end? And maybe more importantly, what could that look like for you in your own life?